This is what happens when you don't put the best players in. It's a complete failure on our part.
If you're unaware, this is MAGA nutcase Representative Tim Burchett from Tennessee, and he's about to invoke the right wing's newest dog whistle of choice to describe anything they don't like.
Somebody really dropped the ball. You've got a DEI, basically a DEI initiative person who heads up our Secret Service. She was working at Pepsi before this. I know she was a former Secret Service agent, but still.
And there you have it. Lax gun laws, glorifying gun culture, a lack of investment in mental health awareness and treatment programs, and failures from the individual law enforcement agents and multiple agencies aren't to blame for the attack on Trump. But the female director of the Secret Service is. Huh? Oh, God, yeah, that totally makes sense. But this is exactly, people, this is exactly what we should expect from Burchett and others of his ilk.
How come you opposed all of the bills that gave money to Tennessee, that funded all these projects that everybody loves around here? Why did you oppose all of those?
Because only 10% went to infrastructure.
What did the rest go to?
Woke programs that you and your followers
What does
like.
woke mean, Tim? What is woke?
You are woke.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Oh,
what's your definition?
Offensive.
Isn't obstructing easy? Isn't that the easy way out for $174,000 a year just to say no to everything? Can't anybody do that? Can't we send a chair up there to do that, Tim?
Earlier this year, he scurried away from Tennessee Holler reporter Justin Canoe after he was confronted about voting against infrastructure funding bills that would actually improve the material conditions of his constituents. But we all know a Republican would die before doing that.
Our own party, we come home and we preach all this red meat and how we're going to get even with Nancy Pelosi and all this stuff. And then what the hell do they do when they get back to D.C.? They vote us down the river every dadgum time. We've got to secure our dadgum border, Matt. I think people are irate with the crime, the rape, the things that are going on, out and everywhere I go, our own party, we're in the majority. Dadgummit, we ought to be sticking it to them.
This fake populist rhetoric says all you need to know about the mindset of Burchett and his wing of the Republican Party. Instead of fighting for spending bills that actually improve the lives of voters or overhauling our inept immigration processing system, Burchett chooses to whine about his party not being obstructionist enough just to get one over on the Democrats. And from what else we've heard about Burchett, this attitude he has is par for the course.
President Biden's $7.3 trillion budget proposal for fiscal year 2025 is full of costly, woke policies that will end up hurting the Americans who elected us to office. Even if Americans don't pay more in taxes, they will pay for this plan somehow. If we don't do them any good unless they want to get one of these new government jobs that will focus on climate change or diversity, equity, and inclusion. Following George Floyd's death, there were many companies that made promises to hire and promote more black folks and others from underrepresented groups. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, Congressman.
Well, what do you think of those promises?
We look for diversity. I want diversity of thought. It makes for better cases. It makes for better arguments. It makes for better attorneys. It makes for better office. But I'm not going to do that by discriminating against another person. That is against the law. It's against Title VII. And it's short-sighted and ignorant.
I often say put the best player in, Coach. That's what we need. Bloomberg collected data from 2021 for 88 Standard & Poor's 100 companies. In total, those companies increased their workforce by 323,094 people. Of the 323,094 jobs, only 20,524, or 6%, went to white workers. The other 94% went to the people of color. Mr. Berry, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act prohibits discrimination based on race, color, or national origin. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you know what percentage of the U.S. is white, non-Hispanic?
So the statistic that's been discussed today is approximately 59 or 60%.
Okay, I had 57, but I'll go with that. How is it possible that these companies only hire 6% of white folks without using discriminatory hiring practices?
My rough and ready statistical analysis would be that it is extremely implausible that that would be done without intentional discrimination.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Wiley, In your written statement, you said that so-called war on woke is a danger to democracy and to all progress we have made as a society that has benefited us all. How does corporate America using discriminatory practices against white people benefit us all?
Discrimination doesn't benefit anyone, ever.
Okay.
And the good news here is that's why corporations have been voluntarily taking steps to ensure that they're not discriminating.
Okay.
And that's what we want them to keep doing.
Okay, thank you. Yes or no? You also say attacks against woke radicals are based in a desire to keep us back to the 1950s when black people were segregated. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. Attorney General Rokita, as someone who fights against unequal and discriminatory workplace practices, do you believe the critics of the DEI movement are radicals that want to bring us back to the 50s, or are they just upholding Title VII of the Civil Rights Act?
Clearly, Congressman, they're upholding Title VII, they're upholding the rule of law, and they're keeping things fair for everyone.
What about you, Mr. Berry?
100%. This was non-discrimination and colorblindness are baked into the statute, and that's exactly what we try to vindicate.
Okay, and so how should the EEOC combat these corporate DEI programs?
The EEOC should apply the black letter law and find that attempts to change the racial complexion by these racial balancing schemes are unlawful, as Title VII has always held.
Burchett's argument makes him sound like a really insecure white man, okay? And it's something that you see more and more with these Republicans. How on earth, it's such a disingenuous take to have in this hearing. You know, talking about these woke policies and diversity, equity, inclusion are, you know, bringing people down and it's not helping America essentially. But no, you just don't want to have the playing field level. Equality feels like oppression to the oppressors. In this case, white men. But Burchett, along with the witnesses, are purposely muddying the waters here. They know exactly what they're doing. They're not stupid. And they're not being truthful when describing the actual objective of DEI programs. Because DEI programs are supposed to be inclusive and have a more comprehensive look for our country when it comes to gender or race, sexual orientation, right? Because everybody can do the job. And there are so many qualified people, but it's very skewed in one direction for obvious reasons, right? White supremacy, racism. And that the real objective is to help our nation make it stronger, not dilute the actual workforce. Okay. The reason why Republicans are attacking DEI programs is because they understand and realize the value of them if they actually are successful. And that terrifies them because, one, it is going to reshape how people look at our history when they're actually taught the facts and not a whitewashed version of what happened, right, to the Native Americans, what happened to black people. The other thing is they know that is going to change the landscape. It's going to tip the scales in terms of making sure underrepresented communities have better representation. They have more opportunities, right? Just to level the playing field. And they don't want that. You know why? Because they're also fearful that the underrepresented communities will get these opportunities, get these jobs, and they're going to do to white folks, white males particularly, what white males did and have done for centuries to marginalized communities. Okay? The other aspect here that's very important is they have really hijacked the term DEI itself and flipped it into a dog whistle and catch-all phrase to describe anybody who isn't a stereotypical white Christian conservative American man. That is a fact. And that is why we have to keep pushing for diversity, equity, inclusion. Otherwise, we're going to have people like this continuing to put out false narratives. And we can't have that. Not in this country where we're supposed to embrace each other's differences and you're supposed to help people who have been historically disenfranchised and have them and give them the proper respect and the proper value in our society.